This is the Transformers Studio Series from the movie The Last Knight and Age of Extinction, okay? Deluxe class Crosshairs. Oh my goodness. This figure is a lot to unpack. It showed a lot of potential when they revealed it on Hasbro Pulse, and I was really rooting for this figure, you know, third time's the charm. And man, this figure is a big mess. Here we have the Age of Extinction Deluxe Class Crosshairs. Here we have the Last Knight Deluxe Class Crosshairs. And now we have the new Studio Series Deluxe Class Crosshairs. And just to complete the mix, we have the Legion Class Crosshairs. And you can clearly see the evolution that this figure has undergone with the various releases from Hasbro and Takara Tomy. This guy is supposed to be the definitive Crosshairs, and I do see it in terms of proportion, in terms of the way that trench coat works. I mean, it was really a difficult thing to do. A flowing metallic trench coat that turns into the body of a car, that's next to impossible to do in toy form. But okay, this was a very solid effort, but didn't quite hit the mark. And again, big thanks to my good buddy John for loaning me these 3 figures from his collection. I had already gotten rid of my Crosshairs figures. And here's a look at the backside of that trench coat, those car bits that really form a trench coat. This one is obviously a little bit too awkward. This one is actually a pretty good effort. I'm a little bit okay with this one. And now we've got the Dragonfly version of this trench coat. It feels like they're wings that they're about to flap open, and he's about to fly away with these Dragonfly wings. Now, obviously, this one is just a big car bit. We're not going to talk too much about this Legion class, but it's nice to see. Oh, there you go. It's nice to see the again, the evolution of that trench coat. And this first version was actually pretty compact. I mean, given the fact that it was the top part of the car being used as a coat, it was pretty lame as a trench coat just to use the top part of the car. But it was pretty compact. There's not a lot of obtrusive or annoying kibble. This guy, on the other hand, he was okay. He's actually, the side parts of the car were actually done nicely to form a silhouette of a trench coat. And yet the back part crumpled much better, I think, than this one. And now finally we have every single part of the car body turned into the coat, his Dragonfly coat. And when you look at things, half the figure is the trench coat. The other half is the actual figure. So if there were a way to unhinge that pin right there, this would actually be a very good looking Crosshairs figure without the back part of the car. And he's I'll admit, he's suffering from that Generation 1 styled RC. I mean, RC was literally a car backpack and a robot. And this is what's happening here, I think. Hasbro designers were saying that they didn't want to compromise on the trench coat. They didn't want to compromise on the alt mode. They didn't want to compromise on a lot of things, but they ended up compromising on almost everything about this figure. If you look closely, this is probably the most accurate head sculpt of Crosshairs that we've had. I love the rugged look on his face. He's battle-worn and all that. The sculpt is fantastic. I mean, compared to what we've had in previous releases, I mean, surely this has to top that. This is absolutely the best out of all the head sculpts. The torso sculpt, very nice. And the shoulders, the arms, the way things have been sculpted, very nice. I do like the fact that these flaps, these are probably the best part of this trench coat, these front flaps. They have some articulation. You can fold them up like that because, you know, you can move the legs forward and backward, and these hinges would allow you to do that. You can actually move them to the side and give you dynamic poses of the trench coat. The legs, they're very spindly. They lack paint apps, but the quality plastic that they used for this figure more than makes up for the lack of paint. If I could just get my trusty tweezers. Quality is not too bad. I mean, it's not the best. plastic that we've gotten. Obviously, these previous releases, you can hear that that trill, that high-pitched trill. You know, it's such quality plastic that they've given us for these figures. Even the first release, I mean, lots of clear bits and all that, but the solid bits, they're, my apologies, John. I mean, I'm ruining your figures, but you can feel how solid the plastic is. But this new one, there's a little bit of emptiness and hollowness, but it's not as bad as what we got with other Studio Series releases. Now, case in point, this Bumblebee figure. You can feel how hollow and just cheap the plastic is. But with this one, I do love the fact that the glossy bits are a little bit more solid, particularly the car parts. They're pretty solid. And I think they did a better job in terms of quality with this figure than Hot Rod. If you've seen my review of Hot Rod, you'll know how much I panned that figure in terms of quality. He's got two guns. That's great. That's a wonderful thing. If you look at the sculpt of this gun, I guess this is the most accurate machine gun we've had. You look at the previous release, definitely this one's more accurate. This backpack, however, is the one that's bringing this figure down. And conversely, the transformation is horrible transformation. This whole thing, can you imagine this becoming the part of the car, the top part of the car and sides of the car, and then squeezing all this robot bits in? I'm just getting a headache just thinking about it because I'm gonna have to transform him. So, articulation for the figure, he's got a ball jointed neck. No waist articulation or torso articulation, mainly because there's just not a lot of places you could put any articulation on. It's pretty hollow. The shoulders are on ball joints. There's a bicep swivel. There's a hinge elbow and a hinge wrist because of transformation. The hips are on ball joints, forward and backward, and you can move this piece off to the side so you can kick up and kick out. Double jointed knees, mainly because of transformation. And then the ankle is on a ball joint. That will act as the rocker pivot. Now, this figure also has a Hobbit mode. So you fold the legs like this, fold them down like this, and then he becomes a Cybertronian Hobbit. That's the secret mode for this figure. He actually looks pretty neat as a Hobbit. He's about Bumblebee's height. And there you go. Look at that. That's the secret mode. Paint apps are okay. Not a lot, like I mentioned, and most of the paint apps you'll see in car mode, but this head sculpt just painted beautifully. So if you look at him and display him this way, you're gonna love him. And then once you move him around, oh man, and there he goes. Okay, we'll let him rest. And now for the dreaded transformation. So I'm gonna do my best to show this off as best as I can without making it look confusing. And a lot of the pieces might pop off, like these side skirts, or this whole top part of the car loves to pop off because it is just sitting on a teeny tiny ball joint right there. So I do apologize in advance if that happens. Okay, so let's do the feet or the legs first. Turn him into a Hobbit mode, like that. Fold the feet. Okay, fold the feet up like this. Okay. And then let's do this back part. First, you want to store the guns right here. I thought this was neat that you could store the gun seamlessly. This one, fold out like this. Very gently. Let's see if we can do this without anything popping off. Okay, there we go. And then these dragonfly wings, they're gonna fold up like this. And then the bumper, I'm gonna set that off like this. And then with some finesse, you need to swing this whole thing around over here. So how do we do this without causing a pop off? Okay, gently. Okay, Okay, great. Now you see there in that windshield, there is a, I don't know if you can see it, there is a, yeah, right there, there's a slot right there. That is for the crest on his head sculpt right there. That thing should line up like that on his head. That's your guide, okay? And then these jacket or trench coat flaps, front flaps, they are going to squeeze on in to the bonnet, if you can. Okay, like that. This one too. Okay. Right? Nothing to it. Okay, and then these pegs, the side spurs or side foot spurs, they are going to tab onto that slot right there. So both of them at the same time, if we can. Okay. All right. We did it without a hitch. No pop-offs this time. Okay. Fold the hands like so. And then fold in the shoulders and the arms this way. The arms, forearms have a tab, and they're going to slot into those holes right over there. Okay, same thing here. Okay, and then these panels are going to fold in like this and tab in. Tab to those slots right there, and then these hopefully will slide in nicely. Same thing here. Oh, this one just slid in nicely. Okay, and this one, what's wrong? Okay. Okay, come on. Okay, there we go. Almost done. And finally, all that's left to do is to fold in the bumper, the rear bumper, and complete the car mode. And there we have Studio Series Crosshairs in his C6 Corvette alt mode, or C7 Corvette alt mode. Yeah, it looks great. The transformation was absolutely horrible, but the car mode looks absolutely fantastic. The robot mode looks okay, but just to get him from one mode to the other is like pulling a tooth. Ito yung tipong pag na-transform mo na naging ng kotse o naging sasakyan na, ayaw mo na ibalik sa robot. O kaya pag naging robot na, ayaw mo na siyang ibalik at gawing kotse. Just iwanan mo na lang na ano. Yung tipong pag na-transform mo na ng isang beses, ayaw mo nang gawin ulit. It's not a lot of fun. I'll tell you that. So it rolls pretty great. If you fold everything properly, transform, he will roll very, very smoothly. I do like the paint apps that they put on this car mode. You get very premium matte finish paint apps almost everywhere. The clear plastic bits have been painted very nicely. You got nice painted rims. They went cheap on the spoiler though, so there's some gaps. You can see, like even on the top of the car, you see some gaps underneath the under chassis. I mean, I don't know how they could have fixed that. Overall, I still like the car mode. Now for some comparisons, let's bring in the first version of Crosshairs from Age of Extinction, and then the last night version. I think this latest incarnation is probably the more accurate one in terms of color, in terms of design, in terms of sculpt. But as toys, man, these pretty solid. Transforming Crosshairs was really not enjoyable. I mean, from this toy to this toy to this toy. But I think this one is probably the least enjoyable out of all the three. And again, just for fun, the Legends class Crosshairs. Aesthetically, he's great, but transformation-wise, I think these two others are a lot more fun than that one. And so some final thoughts on the Studio Series Crosshairs. Excuse me, got a big frog stuck in my throat. And so some final thoughts on this Studio Series Deluxe class Crosshairs. The figure is actually quite a mixed bag for me. The robot sculpt and details is near perfect to how he looked like in the movie. Plastic quality is good enough, it's on point enough. You got two guns, but ultimately the back kibble and that horrible transformation really did this figure in for me. The figure I don't think is is worse than this figure. I'm not sure if it's actually better than this figure. I'm gonna give this figure a 5 out of 10. I think that's fair. 50% is great, 50% is ugly. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think of this new Studio Series Deluxe class Crosshairs from Age of Extinction and The Last Knight. Hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of my latest video reviews. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.